good morning, my friends. Welcome back to Paris. Would you like to know what we're doing today? This is going to be a good one. Daze with Jordan the Lion begins now. That is right, my friends. We are headed to the Catacombs of Paris, the famous catacombs. This should be quite an experience. Let's go. What happened to the T? So basically what the Catacombs of Paris are is an underground ossuary where they used the remains of 6 million people. They basically had an overflow of dead people here. One of the underground mines collapsed, so they decided to fix it by using the remains of Parisians. So in the evening one night, they started transporting bodies down here and started creating what we're gonna see here. So this should be very bizarre, but very interesting. They actually say it extends all the way to what they call the gates of hell. And so it begins. So originally the purpose to these tunnels was they were digging for limestone. So this pillar is an example of how the quarrymen used to work and how they used to build the things down here. They've kind of left this as an example as to how they used to create everything originally. See these pillars? Holy cow. Wow. I knew what I was coming into, but it's still pretty shocking. That's all of these walls, everything on both sides. Somebody's skull got broken open into there. Jeez. Talk about shocking experiences in your life. Seeing this is one of them. As crazy as this sounds, that looks like they made a heart there intentionally, didn't they? Sure looks like it. Wow, check out this arch. It looks like some have been taken out of the center. So what I think these are saying is what cemetery they were brought from. So like I said, they have the remains of like 6 million people down here. And it looks like they even got a little artsy with the skulls. Now they clearly have signs saying not to touch anything, but when you see these holes, it makes you think that somebody probably took them at some point. They said before this was open as like a tourist attraction, people used to come down here at night and hang out and party and stuff. So every once in a while you'll see some like graffiti or like scratching where people would put like hearts with their initials in it and stuff like that. What a crazy experience this is. And just a little tip from me to you, book in advance. The line was really long, but I booked last week, so I walked right in. I know right now you're probably getting sick of seeing skulls and bones, but these are people's remains. This is a cemetery. Here they're all kind of, I wonder why they didn't take it all the way to the top. They're all kind of broken apart and everything over here if you look. Here's some of that graffiti I was telling you about. I wish I could read better French to tell you what all this says, but I think it describes a little bit about where the remains came from. Look at that. They've put in poetry and famous quotes. I mean, it is done, I hate to say it, it is done with some dignity and class, considering what it is, being an ossuary. So you also have to wonder how many of these people were probably prisoners that had no means of having a grave. Alright, it looks like this walkway is back to being limestone. Pretty fascinating experience. This is weird. I noticed in these, they always have like a skull with a bone going diagonal underneath it in this design. See, here it is again. So from what I understand, how this all came about was when they had to empty out the Cemetery of the Innocents, which is what it was called. The man who was in charge of this quarry actually, I believe, recommended it to start moving them down here. Definitely one of the more macabre vlogs I've ever made. Like I said though, it is done with some class. There is a design to it, so it's pretty interesting. I wonder if there's a... That looks like there's a bullet hole right in the middle of this one, doesn't it? I can't believe this. I can't believe somebody graffitied one of the skulls. I'm kind of starting to feel like I'm in the movie Nothing But Trouble or Goonies or something with all these bones and skulls and everything. Oh, this actually, I guess, was someone specific here. Francois Guillon, Dame Lagros, French academic. And here you can see some of the bones have actually turned colors. Green. Wonder how they explained this to the family of these people when they decided to empty out that cemetery. I wonder what that conversation was like. And these are just stacks and stacks and stacks of bones. These look like leg bones down here. Now here, like an entire section of the skulls have been removed. Now going across the top of all of these, there's like random bones up here. I wonder what that's all about, if they just tossed them up there to do something with them or what. Green skull. What is that? What is that? Looks like a vase or like an urn right in the middle, like a giant urn made out of bones and skulls. I hate to be macabre, but these guys got pretty fancy and artistic with creating this stuff down here. So if you were wondering how far down we are, it was like 137 steps down, and they said above us is where the sewage system and the pipes and everything for the city would be. Wonder why they got boring here and just used regular like cinder blocks. This looks like it's a cave or something. I don't know if you're allowed to go back there, but it's all lit up, so. I see spiral stairs. I think we made it to the end. Great experience, but I feel a little sick to my stomach, to be honest with you right now. Cool swag. Look at the beanie. I think I'm gonna get this one. Well, that is one heck of a coffee mug. Oh yeah, made a few purchases, got some people that donated through PayPal, a few things, got myself a shirt. So as I was exploring through the catacombs and I was listening to the audio guide that came with it, they said in there that the original man whose idea it was to bring all the remains from the cemetery down into the old quarry, he really had no plan beyond that. He kind of just left them in a pile down there, and they were almost forgotten about for a few years. And then when a new man took over managing the quarry, he was the one that saw how they were deteriorating, and they were, it's probably where a lot of that green came from. said that he was the one that decided to do something artistic with it and started creating all of those designs down there and putting it into the walls and everything that we just saw. So pretty cool experience. I highly recommend it, but it's probably definitely not for everybody. I feel like we're always here. All right, we got a train switch right here. Well, there's our next stop, the Pantheon. And there it is, straight ahead. So here's the Pantheon. There is one in Rome that we visited, but the one here in Paris is primarily a burial spot for very important people of France. Not military, not like what we saw at Daze Invalides. This is more for, well, one of my favorite authors was actually moved here recently. The man who wrote the Count of Monte Cristo and the Three Musketeers, Alexandre Dumas. So let's go explore. Look at all the statues embedded into the side of this building. Now the name right there, that is the man who was the primary architect for the Pantheon, and he's buried inside as well. He didn't get to finish it, he actually passed away while it was being worked on, but he is buried there. Looks like this is also somewhat of a social gathering spot. One of the other interesting things about this is for 15 years, in the early 1900s, this was the original home of the Thinker statue. Wow, take a look at this. This place is amazing. So much art. I mean, all of the walls are just covered. And you can probably tell that it's all French history. Now this used to be a church on this site. It's called it was called St Genevieve. And when the king was very deathly ill, he swore if he ever recovered he would bring this back to glory, he would rebuild it. Well, he recovered and he did. So take a look at this statue. Now that is definitely Joan of Arc. Here's a crowning. That one is definitely Joan of Arc as well. This is very interesting. If you look, you can see faintly behind her there is almost like a fairy trying to hand her a sword. I love that. That's so great. Look at that. So well done. Now you probably see this globe moving around. This was a physicist's idea. It actually is attached to the very top dome. This is not the original. This is a replica of the original, but they did at one point bring the original back for a short time. But the purpose of this was this physicist had this done here to show how the world moves. Rotations of the Earth. And here's the man responsible for the pendulum, Léon Foucault. Here's an illustration of him demonstrating it. And this one is in honor of the French Revolution. You can see all the way at the very top. The art, the mosaics, and the domes and everything here are just second to none. La Convention Nationale. Look at the drummers. St Genevieve. Now this statue is to the heroic martyrs of France. And this, I believe, depicts Charlemagne. Now let's go visit some of the famous people buried here, or interned here. Now this statue and this tomb is for Voltaire. Now this is a really fascinating story because when Voltaire died, he died in 1791, but pretty much ever since his death from like the 1811 era on, there was a rumor that people had broken in and stolen his body. So in the late 1890s, they actually decided to open up the vault and to see if his remains were in there, and they were, so he's in there. An inspiration of tolerance. You always hear those stories that people's crypts have been broken into. It's just fascinating that it took them 80 years to just decide after all the rumors to open it up and make sure. Now this is the tomb of the man I showed you the plaque of outside, the man who was the architect of the Pantheon here. Soufflot. Now this is the tomb of Jean-Jacques Rousseau, who was a composer, a politician, but most notably he was a philosopher, and he was considered the most popular philosopher of the French Revolution. I love the way that they did this. If you notice, there's like two doors right in the front with a hand popping out holding flowers. It's pretty neat. Let's take a look at the side as well. Now we're going to go see Louis Braille. I think you know who that is. Here's the signature of Louis Braille, as well as a bust. And here he is in here. So here he is, the man who created the writing system. Created Braille. Now here's the grave of Victor Hugo. We actually saw a sculpture of him done by Rodin in the Rodin Museum. And here's Alexander Dumas. Not originally interned here, but they decided it was long overdue, and so they moved his body here, I believe, like a century after he was buried. Like I said, he was the author of one of my all-time favorite books, The Count of Monte Cristo. Fantastic book. Every time I see his name, I always think of that joke in Shawshank Redemption. You know which one I'm talking about. And that is Alexander Dumas. And here's the grave of Emile Zola. Now I'm looking for one particular woman buried here as well. See if we can find her. Very important. Now here you see Marie Curie, as well as her husband, Pierre Curie. Both won Nobel Peace Prizes, but she was not originally interred here. They brought her here later. Let's go and see her tomb and I'll tell you about her. So here you see her husband Pierre, love is Marie Curie. Now, why she is so important is because she was the pioneer in research on radioactivity. She was the first woman to win a Nobel Peace Prize. She actually won 2, so she was the first woman to win 2 Nobel Peace Prizes, and she actually won those in 2 separate fields of science. She was also the first woman to be a professor at the university here in Paris, so very important. All right, well, I think we're done here at the Pantheon. Very interesting place. Now, I can't go into this room, but I believe this is the one that I read that, this is Leon Gambetta. I believe that his body and ashes are not here, but I believe in that urn, they put his heart in there. Then here's a mural of the French Revolution. Well, I think that's gonna do it for today. Come back and see me tomorrow, guys. We have a full day planned. Have a great night, and we'll see you all tomorrow. Goodbye.